All right, are we live again? All right. I think I'm live. Gosh, it's frustrating. Oh my god. I've never had that happen before. And now that I already did this, I don't know how many people are going to come back. Which really sucks because it's like really looking forward to doing this stream today. So we'll see how many people are willing to like take a chance and come back, but I think I fixed the problem. I look, the crappy thing about this is I'm using a computer I don't like using. I know, like it is a little relatively newer, but at the same time it's just like not my main computer. I usually use this computer for schoolwork and everything. That's why I got it. So I don't like to do anything with it honestly besides schoolwork. But my computer where I actually do make my files and my content is just like freaking dying on me apparently, and I have to replace it. But none of that really matters. It's just been a very long day, and I thought, heck, why not try to stream and get have like come in, talk with you guys, and just have a good night. Long day. Let's have a good night. So yeah, like that's really what I'm gonna get at right now is just this stream. I hope everyone is having a good night, better than my day. What do you guys want to talk about? By the way, first question of the night. Do you guys like what they did with Gohan's elimination in Dragon Ball Super? I'm going to just assume that is no longer a spoiler because we're a couple days out from it. So what did you guys think of Gohan's elimination? Like it, not like it, anything else like that? Thank you for the congratulations on 15K. I'm excited for that as well. It's been a crazy journey. Let's see. I use a laptop for school, so yeah, I have a desktop for my computer stuff, but I use a laptop for school. But like I said, I had to kind of jerry rig this, so I hope that answers. Let's see. I think Dragon Ball Z is losing its touch. It's like it's not watchable anymore in bad writing. Dragon Ball's always had bad writing. It's always Dragon Ball is like Dragon Ball always has relied on its characters, but at the same time, its writing style is the same as it always has been. It's like this wouldn't happen if not this, and that wouldn't have happened if not this and that and this. That's why a lot of people who like do these big what ifs and all this stuff on their channels is a crazy endeavor because if you add one extra element into the story, then you have to change the entire story. It's just the way Dragon Ball's written. Oh god, next top 100K. Oh gosh. I hope so. I would love it, guys. I would love that. You know what? I'll say it because it has been like one of those days. My goal on this channel is to get to 100K. I don't know, for some reason, and I hope everyone can like understand this, is like for some reason it's like that's like the first major stamp of like you've kind of made it as a YouTuber. And I have done nothing in my entire life like YouTube, where it's just like totally and solely for me. It's what I wanted to do. It's what I decided to do like every day and have fun with and just talk about the stuff that I'm passionate about, put together material here and there. And personally, like, I think that would be a huge, like, oh man, like I really have made something of this and I'd be very, very proud of it. So that is one thing I've been looking forward to. And I don't know, maybe, but I hope so. I really hope so. All right, so let's see. The fan base just hyped him up. That's where the disappointment comes from. I agree with that. I do agree with that. I have never said otherwise. Gohan's character, especially some of my first videos, has always been that. Gohan's character is not inherently a fighter. So having him in a fighter show always takes away the brilliant, or like always kind of puts him on a disadvantage. And a lot of people want him to be a fighter because throughout the series he's been shown to be a fighter, and it just kind of muddies the waters really. So when they do what they did with him this last episode, everyone gets it up there, gets an opinion about it, like, oh, they messed him up, they did this, that, and the other. It's like, no, they didn't. They use Gohan to the best of their ability. It's just with the way that this tournament was outlined, or at least how it's been presented, with everyone being able to surpass their limits, that's the big problem, is that Gohan theoretically didn't. I mean, I guess he was fighting and it wasn't really what he was used to, or I guess a part of, but we've seen too many times in the series where Gohan has stepped up to the plate and been the one who potentially or maybe might have saved the day in any real situation, and we didn't see it here. They did allude to that with a couple lines that you could have taken, and a lot of us did. We stretched it out way too far, and that's on us. But at the same time, like, heck, I really, really liked the idea of Gohan coming in and doing his own thing, Yes, I have been streaming a lot lately, MJ. I like streaming, actually. I hope you guys like streaming too. I like it. Let's see. Is my thumbnail still Universe 6 versus Universe 7, like that thumbnail? Because that thumbnail is fire. I made that. It's crazy. I like it a lot. Thumbnail is fire. I think you can get to 100k. Thank you. He should have fought God of Destruction Topo. Remember, his family charged him up, and defeating him is double elimination. I agree with that, but I mean, I guess we got what we got, and he did take out Dispo, which is one of the last remaining people, and Gohan did get some people. So, like, I don't know. I think it's pretty cool. I do think it's kind of cool that Topo did that, or that Gohan did that. And a lot of people have been talking about the allusions to the first fight with Raditz and Dragon Ball Z. I guess I see it, and I think it's okay. I agree. It's a little disappointing, but in terms of Gohan's character, it makes sense, and I'm fine with that. I'm totally fine with that. You can do it. You have to make. You have the makings of excellent writer. Thank you. Thank you. I actually had someone literally comment just to say he unsubbed because I wasn't a good writer, because I couldn't, because I admitted in that last video I did. And all right, I'm gonna go off on one of these little rants right now, because I saw a lot of these comments, and I don't want to keep commenting on anyone's opinions on this. Really, a lot of people didn't listen to the video, and that's one of the big problems with people who click on videos because of the title, because of what thumbnail, and then share their opinions or what they believe my opinions are without actually listening to them. So I released a video yesterday about Hit, and a lot of you guys know I'm a Hit fanboy. I still am. I think he is the best character in all of Dragon Ball Super. He's the best side character in all Dragon Ball Super. He is a perfect second fiddle or whatever player to the main cast, because Dragon Ball has always been Goku with his, he loves fighting. He doesn't really change as a personality, and everyone else matures around him. The same thing with Hit. You could definitely make that argument with Hit, and I think he's one of the best maturing characters this entire series had to offer. When we first met him, he was like, oh, I only care about the job. It's all about getting the cube. Can I kill them? Can I kill them? Like, are you sure I can't? And it was a little annoying, but he was doing these epic moves and everything else like that. But he was very self-focused and centered, and we got a hint that he was changing his mind after fighting Goku. Maybe that was a little on the nose, maybe it wasn't. But when he came back, you realized, and even Vado said, that Hit wasn't fighting at his full capacity. He was actually fighting for fun this time, which at the beginning of this Universe 6 tournament, he didn't do. And then when he comes back at the Tournament of Power, he's literally fighting for the universe. He's not fighting for himself. So it's like, that's a perfect arc. Like, in 3 main entries of him, like Universe 6, the little Merry Hitmas thing that Danny and MJ like to keep saying, and then the Tournament of Power, he goes through a complete and utter arc in only a couple episodes, being the strong silent type, and it's awesome. The problem is now he's gone. It doesn't look like he's coming back anytime soon. Maybe, maybe not. But centering an entire series, special, or movie on him is going to be difficult, because he might be 1,000 years old. But I tell you guys, he has no personality when it comes to the formula that Dragon Ball has set up over the last 30 years. You need to tell a story, all of them do, about some adversity to be taken over. Even when it's Trunks versus the androids in the future, there was always something to be working towards, at least a little bit there. Either Trunks getting stronger or going back into the future. It was a story that needed to be told, but it had the same general formula. The same thing with the Bardock special. Even though he wasn't able to take out Frieza, he did get stronger, and that was the part. It was telling the story of how Saiyans got stronger and everything else like that. Hit doesn't have that problem. Hit increased his Tokudobashi from 0.1 second, or like 0.1 second, to literally like almost a second during his fight with Goku. And he never lost step with Goku at any part of that fight. So you're not going to sit here and tell me logically, and I'm not a power scaler, but you're not going to tell me logically that this guy has ever come up against someone who didn't give him, like, who actually gave him a challenge before he met Goku. And that's the way he acted like he did, and that's the reason we got that arc that we got throughout his tenure in Dragon Ball Super. The problem with it is the only fight he probably ever had is that actually gave him trouble is when he found the Tokudobashi. That's an interesting story. You can ask MJ. I pitched him that story before. He pitched me the exact same story. That's the problem. It's so generic. It's not a bad story. It's actually a better story than what I've seen a lot of people throwing my way with Hit or Jiren. Not going to throw any names out there. I don't really care. But my point is it's too easy and it's unremarkable because Hit is all about attitude. Hit is all about his mystery behind him, how he actually got to where he is, and what he's been doing this last 1,000 years. If you explore how he got his power, then you're sitting there on the sidelines at the end of the day going, man, that wasn't really exciting. I mean, the best example here is the prequel trilogy of Star Wars, where we got to see the rise of Darth Vader. That is a terrible story. Now, granted, there's some really awesome parts in there, and if you cherry pick this scene or that, it's like, oh yeah, like that was a really well told story, especially when you take those cherry pick scenes and kind of relate them to everything else that's come after, or before. But with Hit, it's the exact same way. You cannot tell a compelling through-line story having him as the main person. Even the prequel trilogy, everyone argues that the main focus in the prequel trilogy should have been Obi-Wan Kenobi because he is an interesting character. Someone who brings up this Padawan of his throughout the entirety of the story and is fighting to save their souls, fighting to save their, like not let him go into the dark despite his amazing power and all that other stuff. And it's a direct contrast to Luke's story in the original trilogy and everything like that. That is epic. And it should have been what it was, but having a story solely focused on Anakin Skywalker from his childhood all the way until he becomes Darth Vader is boring as hell. Hit's the same way. Frieza's the same way. I would argue that Frost might be the same way, although if you were to play it as like this political struggle back and forth, I don't really know. Haven't really thought of it, but my point is there's some interesting things there to tell with Hit. Cabba's an interesting story. Like, he could be a main protagonist. I really like that because Cabba could be a main protagonist of a series because Cabba is the Gohan that everyone wants. He's someone who's okay with fighting. He wants to get stronger, but he's also kind of this person who doesn't step up and actually do anything at any real time. So yeah, like that's, I don't know. People need to calm down. This is just my little rant, but people need to calm down, listen to my point of view if they want to comment on what they think my point of view is. Don't just go off the titles. Don't just go off the thumbnails or anything else like that, because I know every single YouTuber knows when you do that, and it is just not cool at all. It's like I don't get it. I don't get like how you think you're fooling anyone. It just makes me realize that you're not paying attention, or you don't even care, and you just want to sit around and slander me for what you believe I think, and it's obnoxious. But yeah. That was my rant. All right, whatever. I wasn't disappointed he made it to the top 10. What is there to be disappointed about? No, like Gohan's an awesome character. I'm not disappointed that he made it to the top 10 at all. Like I think he's an interesting character, and like I said, I think I want him to get I think a lot of people want him to be more than he is, and that's where the confusion comes in. That's why everyone is being mad at each other right now, because there's a part of the fan base who wants Gohan to be amazing, and then there's also a part of the fan base who realizes what Gohan is and what he's always been portrayed to be, and is like, okay, well, I'm totally fine with that, and then we just go along our merry way, or we fight it out because we can't learn to accept each other's opinions. But that's just me. I'm sorry, guys. Like I said, it's been a long day. I'm just trying to unwind right now. So if I seem a little out of it or a little pissy, like that's the total reason. I will calm it down. If I get to comments like, bro, you need to calm down, like that's fine. Like I'm really just trying to I'm trying to just be a little bit exaggerated right now and sharing my opinions and whatnot. Man, where were we? Let's see. No, bro, no. Hey, Mark. Hey, Mark, didn't push himself, so he said, like he said he did. I don't know. I think Gohan pushed himself. Literally, like, what were we expecting? And that's really not even a fair point. Like, what were we expecting in an arc where everyone pushed themselves beyond their limits? What could we have possibly expected from Gohan? Like, maybe for him to push himself well beyond his limits, like everyone else. I don't know. So I think the disappointment in Gohan is incredibly justified, and anyone who says otherwise is lying to you or talking completely in hindsight, and it makes me mad because that was the whole point here. Like, I don't think people clickbaited Gohan's importance on this. I think it was fairly understandable and acceptable to think that Gohan was going to get a form or get some kind of power-up that was going to make him even remotely useful. And yes, I guess in the long run he was remotely useful, but the point is like, wow, like Gohan didn't really amount to much in this entire series, now did he? Now that we know it's gonna end. And that's the other thing, is like people are like, oh yeah, like you guys are wrong, you were clickbaiting. It's like, you realize that like you're talking in hindsight now, because everyone was talking about this as like, this is Gohan's return to form. It might not be in this arc, but it's gonna be in the next arc or sometime other. They're realizing and they're showing that they're not forgetting about Gohan. He's gonna be coming into prominence, and if they get into a really bad situation, Gohan might be able to step up because he got his fighting sense back in the Tournament of Power because they pushed him there. He didn't have to break his limits in this tournament. But that's when we thought, even just a couple weeks ago, that the series wasn't gonna end. And now it's ending. And you're gonna sit here and say like everyone overhyped Gohan. Of course we did. I don't understand the mentality there to say that Gohan, that it's our fault for overhyping him. We didn't know the series was gonna end. It still doesn't make sense why the series ending, if you ask me. Let's see, Gohan's elimination sucks. They could have done better. I agree, but like I said, it is his character, and that's the underlying thing. Is like I don't think they did damage to his character. I don't think they disrespected his character. I just think they disrespected the fandom, and those are two different things here. And I think it's something that we have to acknowledge. The fan base just hyped him up. Yeah, that's what I just said. I agree. I agree with that. But and that's exactly what I said. You will do it, bro. I think you get to 100K. The thumbnail is fire. Oh, wow. Did I get, like, way behind? Oh, gosh. I think I even went backwards instead of forwards. 100K, and we'll have to be this. We will have that by the summer. I don't know if we're going to have that by the summer. I don't know if we're going to have 100,000 by the summer. MJ's in here. He says, I'm streaming a lot. I did go backwards. Oh, my gosh. I just got into my little rant. I guess I didn't really see. I wasn't disappointed. He made it to the top 10. Oh, we already said that. How do you think they will wrap up Frieza's time left with his body? So, okay, so MJ and I were talking about this the other day. By the way, I'm going to see if he's on. Maybe he wants to join. He doesn't seem to be on. He's not logged in on anything. I don't know. Is he in here? Yeah, he's in here. Let me just message him real quick if he's still listening. I don't think he's still listening. Let's see. Want to come in. Sorry for the technical difficulties at the beginning of this, guys. So MJ and I were talking about this, and it was mainly his idea, but I was kind of jumping off of it. Okay, cool. He wants to come in, so I'm gonna bring him in, and I'm gonna let everyone. I'm gonna let him tell you what he thinks of this. All right, let's see if he gets in here. Hopefully it does, because I last time he tried to come in, or maybe the second to last time, that we had some audio difficulties. So we're just gonna have to wait and see. He is not picking up the phone. Not picking up the phone. You know what? I bet he's turning off his fan or turning off Pornhub. I don't know. MJ? He's in the call. He's in the call with me, but I can't hear him. And if you can't hear him, it means if I can't hear him, it means you can't hear him. Why can't I hear you? I still can't hear you, man. I literally can't hear you. I don't know about anyone else. That's crazy. Let's get out of that call. Try again. Oh, maybe I did hear him, because my audio is all the way down. What's up, man? Geekdom 101. I was in his stream the other day. It was really nice. It was nice. It got a little frustrating because of my internet and also Discord, but because you're in here, I want everyone to I want you to tell everyone what we were talking about the other day when it comes to Frieza, like how they're going to deal with his send-off, because I think you had a really good idea and you wanted to do a video on this, but there's only a couple people watching here. I thought you could share your opinion. Yeah, like how do you think they're gonna how do you think they're gonna finish him in this series, because it's done? Whoa, wait. Before you go, it doesn't look like it's picking you up again for whatever reason. I can hear you, but I don't think they can. Oh God, what is with these technical difficulties? Like seriously, like you know what's weird is like I fixed this the other day too, and it didn't want to do anything about this. Can you get on Skype? It was working on Skype. Do you still have a Skype? This guy. Sorry guys, okay. Yeah, we'll do a video about it. I'm sorry, man. Like it was working on Skype. I swear to God, it was working on Skype, guys, the other day. I actually fixed it, and I can't get it to do it right now. Stay on the call for a bit. Just stay on the call for a bit. I'm going to try to fix this as I answer questions. Just so I know. Sorry guys, sorry about that. I don't want to hear that. I'm always a little bit behind with the chat because it gets overwhelming, and I want to be able to answer questions. So I'm going to go up the list now. I'm not going to be looking at the current comments, and I'm going to be asking people, or I'm going to be trying to answer questions as I'm trying to figure out this position. All right, so I definitely think limiting / weakening hit in a via mentor role would be an interesting, giving his disadvantage. Giving him a disadvantage. See, like that's my point too when it comes to Hit. I just want to go back to that thing because I feel like Hit is a really interesting character who could potentially have some kind of side character role when it comes to future content. Like say if they were to do a spinoff of just Universe 6, and I've argued this over and over again that Universe 6 is probably the most interesting universe that we've come to thus far. There's a lot of controversy there because they introduced Frost with his whole concept of, oh, he starts wars just to profit on them, and the Sadala Force who fights for good and also fights for the everyone else and things like that. It really makes me happy about it makes me happy that there's so many characters and so many cool situations. I mean, even the whole Vegeta thing and the Kais laughing at each other and Champa are in the Champa arc going like, oh, you should have Vegeta race. Oh, you don't? Like they know more about their universe, and there's a lot more interesting things in their universe. I would love to see stories based around Universe 6, but Hit, if you have him, he has to be a side character still, because he's the guy, basically, like, he's the guy who would get crap done in any real situation. He wouldn't ever step out and try to do something more than anyone needed him to. Like, I'm getting a little lost, but he would be like, okay, I'm just gonna sit around and I'm going to take this person out. I'm going to take that person out, and problem solved. Because the guy, you would have, because there's no one who can match him, and if you're going to do anything with it, he was going to have to be. You're gonna have to introduce someone who could take out Hit in a major way, nerfing him. But even still, Hit has been shown to advance or improve so quickly that it wouldn't even matter. Because even if you go to the Tournament of Power and you have Dispo basically going all out against Jiren, or you have Dispo going out all against Hit, you have Hit at the same time being able to counter Dispo almost at step-by-step basis. He's improving throughout that entire fight with Jiren, with Dispo, with Goku, everyone else. He steps to them. He never falls behind, and that's crazy. I think they can hear you now. Why don't you say something?
Hello, can you hear me?
Yeah, I think they can. Guys, I think y'all can hear me now. I fixed it while I was doing in that little rant.
Oh, that's like the second time you ranted about Hit, right?
In this stream, dude, I've gotten so... I want you to tell what you were going to say earlier, but... By the way, guys, I'm at the top of the bottom of the stream. Tell me if you can hear MJ. But I was at the... I swear, guys, like, I put up that video, and I thought I made myself pretty clear. I was actually really even proud of it. And then, like, the freaking hate that came out of it. And I was... Okay, like, wow. Like, seriously, before I started the stream, I got a comment. And yes, I try to read like most of the comments I can. I guess I would be lying if I said I read every comment, but I really try to read and respond to as much as possible. But there was a guy, they can hear you, that is like, wow, like, you're a storyteller? You know, screw your storytelling ability. You're like the worst storyteller ever. I write stories and I draw my stories, and I'm unsubscribing because you can't tell your own stories. And I was like, whoa, like, Hit isn't, like, literally, like, Hit isn't an interesting character. Like, he's not. Like, I don't know what real story you can do where it's Hit focused. I mean, literally, Hit centric that's interesting.
It's... I mean, I'm sure there's ways you can do it. I mean, in comics, you have, like, those storylines where sometimes, like, there's, like, a way where you can cripple the person by, like, taking their power away or something like that. So I'm sure you could like do a story where he comes in contact with somebody and they kind of like outsmart him and they take away like his abilities, and the whole movie's about him kind of like, you know, kind of doing what he's doing but without his actual abilities.
Someone did mention that. I can't remember who on the top of my head, but someone did mention that, and that is
Yeah,
interesting.
it's not too far out there. We've seen it done in comics before. You're a comic book fan, so you know what I'm talking about. We've seen like with Wolverine and stuff, you know. So I mean, you could definitely go that route with him. Like, there's certain ways you could do it, but you really have to think hard, because not only does he Zenkai like a Saiyan, you know what I mean?
No, he's
on an absurd level.
Yeah,
you know,
he Zenkai's faster than a Saiyan. I mean, I look, I know you and I talk about this all the time, and I've said this on my videos all the time. Like, Black is a weird Zenkai. He does, and even the whole series, like Dragon Ball Super in general, has a weird Zenkai formula. You and I did a video on it, but Hit has been said and explained and shown multiple times to have that Zenkai where he has no equal. He will literally step to anyone who punches him, and that's crazy. I mean, think about it this way. Like, I wonder what Hit could do, and this is something I want to see in your versus battles at least at some point in the future. Like, what could Hit do if Jiren were to take him on in the same way he's taking on Goku and Vegeta right now? I mean, seriously, Hit took him out Hit took him out when it was obvious that, like, it was obvious that Hit was a real big hurdle to jump over. The guy stopped him in time, for gosh sakes, and even though he could walk, Jiren took him out like almost immediately thereafter.
it comes. You're talking about if they were to have fought non-tournament settings, like a death battle, right? Like, what would happen?
Well, no,
because you also got to imagine the tournament cripples that, because Jiren's not fighting to kill, and then on top of that, it's about getting your opponents out more so than taking them out. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
And so that, like, right there also limits him, because when you think about it, if they were to have fought like in a setting, like in a non-tournament setting, I'm pretty sure Hit could also use his killing techniques, and he has killing techniques. At least going off of episode 72 that we have not seen yet. That one heart punch is like one of the only ones we've seen so far, you know,
Hmm.
and one of the, I guess, the ones that's like, I guess, so what's the word? Even though it's a killing technique, he can still kind of limit it, which is why he's using it in the TOP, you know.
Yeah. Yeah, so it's
So
like that's my point. Is like I don't know. I really don't know what anyone can do to go up against Hit, and like look what like Goku has gone through, and look like what Vegeta's gone through. Even when Jiren was sitting there, maybe like 2 episodes ago, where he started really quote unquote just like punching them. He just sat there and he's like punch, 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 like One Punch Man style. Like, you know, what does he say? Like series of moderate punches or something, normal punches. Like, blah, blah, blah. Like he did that, and Goku and Vegeta are like, wow, like this is the worst pain I've ever felt, like the hardest hit I've ever felt in my life. I'm so excited. Hit though, if you punch him with that as much as he did with Goku, it's like Hit would probably adapt to it. Really, I mean,
Hit's almost like the perfect person for Jiren, because me and you, I'm not too sure if we've done a video. I think we did. We've discussed the possibility that Jiren is actually like wanting a challenge. So that's why at this current point in time, he's kind of just keeping the Saiyans on the stage instead of knocking them out to see how far they'll grow. And in a way, Hit's almost like that perfect person, because I'm pretty sure I could be wrong. You guys can correct me in the chat if I am, but I'm pretty darn sure they mentioned about Hate like starting to adapt to like Jiren's punches and stuff. I think Kaba may have mentioned that. So if that's the, like I said, Hit's almost like the perfect person. Like if Jiren really wanted to, Hit could be that ultimate challenge. You know what I mean? Like he could have gotten Hit to his level, and it could have been an all-out brawl, but just between two alphas. You know?
mm-hmm. God, that would be awesome. I love Hit so much. I really wish you said yourself, and I agree with you. It would have been so nice to have Jiren versus Hit versus Goku at the last 3 people standing on stage. Like 3 universes down to 1 person. They didn't do that. That would have been awesome.
Yeah, I actually looked it up right now. Hit mentions that he's memorized the timing of his counters with his body, so he started to adapt to fighting Jiren. So it really does come down to, like, in a way, plot really did kind of screw over Hit. You know what I mean? Because Hit should have been that guy to get to Jiren's level even quicker than Vegeta and Goku. You know?
Yeah, and the thing is I'm wondering. Oh, by the way, before we get into any more of this, I want you to tell people, because that was why I brought you in here. I wanted you to say like what you wanted from the Frieza. Like, how are they going to send off Frieza?
Okay, so with Frieza, again, this is not spoilers, guys, so don't take my word and start spreading it around here. Like, this is just me giving my theory and prediction. What I would like to see is, obviously, they're teasing this whole God of Destruction Topo stuff, right? So with that being said, we know Topo's probably going to show his true power, or he's going to get a power up, either one. What I would like to see is him take out 17, right? He takes out 17 and 125, and it's just Frieza versus Topo. And I mentioned to you that Topo gives Frieza like gives him that ROF beat down. Like he just beats Frieza down to the point to where he actually hits him out of his golden form, similar to what Vegeta did to him. And what I would love, because realistically, now that we know the series is ending, this is how they could realistically send off Frieza in a way that would satisfy me. So you have Frieza on the ground, Topo is mad, obviously you could probably even headcanon he's mad that they got rid of Dispo, his sworn friend, right? Mm-hmm. So Topo's really mad. He's about to eliminate Frieza. And I like this from a character point of view. We have not really seen Goku kind of do this in a while. I think he may have did it in the Future Trunks arc, in the anime version at least, but I could be wrong. And that's him realistically come to terms that he probably can't defeat Jiren on his own. At least not within these last few minutes. So he tells Vegeta that we need the numbers. It's 3 against 2 right now. 17 and Gohan are gone. You need to go help Frieza. I'll try to, do my strategy. I'll try to just hold off this monster for like the next 4 or 5 minutes. You know what I mean? And Vegeta's like, like not wanting to do it. And then Vegeta goes and helps Frieza, which I think that would be a huge character moment, not only for Frieza, but for Vegeta as well. So you actually have Frieza and Vegeta working together, and then Vegeta gets rid of Topo, and you have Vegeta go out with Topo, and it's just Frieza, Goku, and Jiren.
Hmm.
And in a way, you kind of get that whole 3-man thing, which was kind of teased in Heroes, which me and you've talked about before. But going off of that, I would just love to have that moment with Frieza and Vegeta, have that moment of just being realistic. It's almost like the characters pulling us. We've had to come to terms that this series is ending. You know what I mean? And I think them coming to terms that they probably cannot win this, which we did a video, on your channel about Universe 11 just winning this thing.
Hmm.
I think that's a very cool point of view. And then obviously, you have Jiren and you have Jiren take out both Goku and Frieza realistically in different points of view. And then we talked about it, how kind of Frieza just, not wanting to come back with the Dragon Ball. He'll come back on his own terms. He does the whole smirk. He leaves with Baba. You know what I mean? I think that's a cool thing to do. And they've all kind of broken their limits in one way or another, but they ran into a wall, and that wall was Jiren, aka Universe 11. And I think that's cool. Yeah, Frieza had this motivation. Yeah, he wanted to rule over the Xenos, but he tried and he failed the same way Goku wanted to fight the best and beat the best, but he failed. You know what I mean?
Which is Goku. I mean, Goku, like,
yeah,
Goku is never gonna stop trying. So why would you allow him to be in the top of the mantle like every single time? Like, it would be great for him to not be able to beat Jiren and just have to like live with that fact. I would love that. I would definitely love that. And
yeah,
I want to like just jump off there. Like, you were talking about this, I wanted to say like, oh, how cool would it be if, at the end of the day, Frieza goes back and he's walking with Baba, because obviously he's used up so much power, it's beyond his time, and they stay consistent with the end of Dragon Ball, like you said, or Dragon Ball Z, I mean, where Goku had to leave because he used his Super Saiyan 3 power, and Frieza's only there for like an hour, and he just goes, and Goku's like, hey, wait, like, we'll just wish you back, like, you really pulled your weight there, and we're really happy that you were part of this, so I'll just wish you back. And Frieza just like, he has his classic like, oh, like, he's like stupid.
Yeah.
He's like, and like, just have Frieza's like, stupid monkey. Like, I'll just get back by myself. You think I would take a monkey's help and just like walk away? Oh man, that would be great. Cause like on some level, after all this stuff you just said, like what Frieza would do for them in the Tournament of Power and why he went there in general, like, he must have at least some ounce of respect at this point. But at this point, like, Frieza is such a dick. He's going to keep up that charade. Like, he'll never let it go. He's just like, I am this, you are this, and we're gonna live this together. I came back before, I'm gonna come back again. Don't worry about me. Let me worry about me, and just leave. And it's like, I would applaud. I would love that, because as much as everyone, and you and I were talking about this, but as much as everyone hates the concept of Frieza being good, breaking good, or whatever you want to call it,
Breaking Bad.
He's already broken bad. Like,
I know.
Like, as much as everyone hates the fact of Frieza redemption, I agree with you. I don't want to see a Frieza redemption. I want to see Frieza acknowledgement of, now he has respect. After all this time, it's no longer anger. It's no longer any of this other stuff. He has respect for Goku.
It's a middle ground. To me, it's the perfect balance, because you kind of, again, going off of how we've always said this, it feels like there's really not that much continuity between each arc. And Frieza, in a way, before Goku outsmarted him with the whole stamina issue, in a way, Frieza was kind of showing some level of respect towards Goku. Not to what he's done in this arc, but there was a hint of it. So the idea that we see him again, and the acknowledgement of the Saiyans, but still being a prick about it, calling them monkeys, you know what I mean? I think in a way it's the perfect balance, because you're right. Nobody wants to see him become a cop on Earth, like like Krillin, and just be a part of the main cast and like take care of Trunks and Brawl, babysit. No one wants to see that. No one wants to see him turn into a Piccolo or even a Vegeta, where he's just a rival but trains with them and stuff. No one wants to see that. It's a perfect middle ground of, he had these motivations. He had the motivation. He had this plan. He ran into Jiren. That was it. You know what I mean? And then Goku acknowledged the fact that at the end, he didn't betray them. So he was like, let me wish you back. And then he does the whole, oh, you're a monkey, I don't need your help, right? So it's being a prick still, and it's the perfect middle ground. But at the same time, like he smirks when he's walking. It's the acknowledgement of not only just Goku, but also Team Universe 7 and what they did and everything that we've been through in this tournament since episode 96. You know.
Mm-hmm. I wanted to acknowledge these questions because I want to get back to the chat a little bit, but someone Neptus, do you think that Chosetsu, I can't say that. Sorry guys. Should play at the end of episode 131 because it was the very first thing that we heard when episode 1 came out, despite Limit Breaker X Survivor being the current theme. Oh, you mean like in the theme, like the opening? Maybe like the last. I would say like the last. I would love for that to be like the closing song as we're kind of moving away from everything. Maybe even just like a little montage or something that we've seen throughout Dragon Ball a lot, where like in the fights where they'll cover up the screaming and the punching and all this other stuff to play like whatever the theme is or something. Throughout the series, that's what they should do with that. I think that's what they should do because I think you're right. It's like the first musical score we heard going into the series. It would be kind of nice to have that be the last thing that we hear.
No, I agree with that. I mean, it depends. I think I would personally like a song we've never heard before, but I think there is a bit more meaning to having Chosetsu Dynamic play. I think that would be cool, especially for like a montage. You know what I mean? If they go the whole GT route, or they show like a history of everything. You know what I mean? Which isn't too far fetched. Who knows? They probably will do that, but I think that would be kind of cool.
Mm-hmm. Steven's in the chat deleting comments. I see. I appreciate it, man. I made him like one of the first streams I did. I made him a moderator, and he's always like too much pressure, but he like, man, like you stepped up to it. I don't I take his word for it. I take his total word for it that it's something I wouldn't want to see. So I appreciate it. Let's see. Gohan dropped out of the tournament was justified. His lack of training effort towards becoming Earth's protector was his ultimate downfall. Was his ultimate downfall. He relaxed and thought Goku being alive with Vegeta. Okay, I get it. So yeah, like the thing is, like, Gohan, look, guys, the first thing, legitimately, like one of the very first things he says in the manga and even in the show is, I want to be a scholar. And I don't know why, like, we keep fighting that. Like, a lot of people blame Chi-Chi for that. I understand that, but, I mean, hasn't he proved it? Was he really under Chi-Chi's watch and control during those 7 years when Goku was gone? I know a lot of people like him. I really do, but I have to say, I think that the worst character in the series, by far, up there with, I mean, just terrible, with Toriyama. Maybe not Toriyama, but with Toriyama, Toei, and everyone else. Future Gohan is terrible. Future Gohan is a bastardization of Gohan and everything that he stands for throughout the entire series. Oh my gosh, my sister. He just goes out of his way. He's like, look, like, oh, my dad. It's even the same thing in the Japanese and the English. He's like, my mom always wanted me to study, but I just wanted to fight with my dad, blah, blah, blah. And it's like, no, that's not Gohan. Like, obviously that's not Gohan. That wasn't even Gohan at that arc in the series. Like, that wasn't... He didn't want to train. He didn't want to fight. He always cowered away. And then we have this, like, big old strong guy who has this, like, weird perception of what the past was, even though we just saw the past. No, I refuse to believe that Gohan and his future self with Trunks is a good character and was written well for that character. MJ? You want to like make some enemies right now. That's what you say.
No, I'm fine. I love Future Gohan. Don't hurt me. Don't hurt me.
There's so much love for Future Gohan. There's just absolutely so much love for Future Gohan. I don't get it. I love Future Gohan.
I get your point of view. We've talked about it before, how that story is like just a complete, like, I don't want to use this word, but just like a complete chop up of what we know of the series. Like it just completely goes against kind of like everything. But we did a video. I can't remember if it was on my channel or yours, but we talked about how maybe that was the point. Maybe that's what they were trying to do with that story. Like take away everything we know of the series, but make it more realistic. I guess, but. I don't know. It was just a bit weird. And yeah, I do agree with you. There's like a lot of weird stuff when it comes to the characterization, like in the plot of the whole Future Trunk stuff. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm. I wanted to answer this. I agree with you, but I wanted to answer this. Q Fire says, "Hey, I'm a new subscriber. My first stream. Love Yu Yu Hakusho. It's my favorite anime. Is it true that they are having a new special this year?" First of all, it is true that they're having a new special this year. It's been reported on a couple times. I cannot freaking wait because Yu Yu Hakusho, without a doubt, and I know I cover Dragon Ball a lot. Dragon Ball, I guess in just general terms, is my favorite anime because it is so out there. There's always so much to cover, and it is so ridiculously over-convoluted and underdeveloped that you could have discussions about it every single day. I've done it for a year, and I really appreciate it. But Yu Yu Hakusho is, at least in my opinion, the best anime I've ever seen. I cannot wait for this special. I really hope that it leads to something. I would love a revival of Yu Yu Hakusho. In fact, if you look at my channel, Q-Fire, if you're still listening, because that comment was a little old. If you look at my channel, it was a very old video that I did, but maybe something I should update because of this. I pitched what I think would be a really interesting continuation of the series, at least in like some kind of a movie form or really short arc or manga adaptation or something else like that. So if you're interested, then make sure to go find that. You can find it on my front page. It shouldn't be too terribly difficult. I love Yu Yu Hakusho. I know you were watching it. Did you ever finish it or no?
I stopped at like episode 29.
This guy, dude, it gets so much.
I gotta, I'll finish watching it. Don't worry.
You bought it.
I need
you
to
have
finish
to.
watching it. That way that way I can do a discussion on the OVA. But what about you? What episode are you on My Hero right now?
I'm on 13. I only so you know me. I told you I buy my seasons, right? Like I'm waiting. So I got through most of the first season.
Liking it?
Oh god. Oh gosh, yes. Oh my gosh. But you know what? If we could take a quick aside from My Hero, I think that I told you. As soon as I catch up, as soon as I catch up on the anime, I'll probably delve into the manga a little bit just to catch up on what's the latest. But I gotta say, I really think what's the main guy's name? I watched it in a day, so forgive me.
Izuku.
Yeah, Izuku. I think he's an unreliable narrator. I mean, there's just too many dramatic points in this whole movie. The whole show, everything about that is super dramatic. The first season when they're sitting there and they're in that training ground and the Legion of Doom comes to take out All Might and he's not there, and it's he shows up just as the guy's about to wipe out the Frog Girl, and he can't beat this All Might ripoff guy and all this. It's weird. I'm just sitting there all of this is that show. Everything that happens in that show is convenient, and that's why I want to know if he is an unreliable narrator. It's built and told if it's a comic book, and I think that's the whole point of the show, and that's why it's one of the reasons it's so fun. But can we trust anything that this kid is saying or this guy?
I'll say this before we get, we'll get back to Dragon Ball in a second. But before I'll say this, second season. Once you get to the, even though it's technically the festival, I still call it a tournament. Once you get to the tournament portion of the story, you might have a change of opinion. Just saying, you might have a change of opinion.
Maybe
it gets a lot better in season 2.
No, I mean I'm not saying it's bad.
I mean it's already good, bro. I'm just saying it gets a whole lot better.
I'm not saying it's bad. 2. I'm not saying it's bad. In fact, I'm hoping it's gonna get better. I'm just saying this is the whole story is really convenient. I guess you could say the same.
I get your point.
I guess you could say the same for almost any story, but it's this one is incredibly so. I mean,
I don't know how many people have actually watched My Hero in the chat, but I'm not too sure if you were around when season 2 was airing.
No,
but on Twitter and stuff, there's a reason why a lot of people once they watch season 2 was oh, this actually may be one of the best animes or shonen. I've ever seen. Like I said, I understand you like it right now, and it is good. The first season is good, and you enjoy it. You've been saying that, but watch season 2. It's gonna blow your mind, bro.
Mm-hmm. All right, I'm convinced. I'd like to see it. All right, so I can't wait to see it. One Punch Sloth is UI level with the blocks. He is. Like seriously, like people get overly connected. Like I don't know, like people get kind of kicked off every now and then on here, and I don't know what they say. Let's see. Let's see. I understand okay. This is about Gohan. It's like I understand he's a scholar, but to let himself go to the point where he's SS1, SS2 wasn't sufficient to take Frieza. To take Frieza was the first sign of his disappointing character regression. You mean like in Fakatsu no F, like, I'm sorry, Gohan wouldn't have been able to take Frieza even if he didn't stop training. I mean, maybe if he didn't stop training, but if he was Boo Arc level, like, he would still get owned by Frieza. Just maybe not in the first form, which I guess people would have been okay with. Like, the very fact that Frieza took him out in his first form was kind of humiliating. But, yeah, I like, Frieza was really strong in that arc. He was god level. At least on par with Goku and Vegeta, if not over them, because of his stamina issues. That was why he lost. So I'm not really mad about that. I did have this. I want to get your thoughts on it on the record. One of the things I don't like about Dragon Ball Super is that they made his ultimate form somewhat of a transformation. I mean, when Gohan went back into his ultimate form, it was like he was transforming and not really like he was evolved. Like, I don't really know how to explain it. You know what I mean?
It's a bit weird. I know Danny and Kendamu did a video on it, like kind of like the explanation of it, and I don't know. Like it's a bit. It almost does feel like they kind of went back against what Elder Kai was saying, but there's something, and for the life of me, I cannot remember. There's something that actually kind of maybe tells us no, they didn't. I just can't remember what it is. Like I said, for people who are confused, you just have to go watch that video that Danny did with Kendamu. But I get what you mean, because when they did it in episode 88, it's like he has like his golden hair, right? And then it's like switching back and forth to black, and it's almost like he's powering up into it, right? So I get what you mean.
Like that's the thing. Like visually, it looks like he's transforming into it, which is weird, but the way it was originally explained and the way I interpreted it, and not, I guess if you take that moment, if you're willing to not allow yourself to look at that moment or see it or just kind of overlook it, I don't know. But the way I perceive it is when the Elder Kai unlocked his potential, he did. And Gohan was like, oh, I can turn Super Saiyan. Oh, there's no need to turn Super Saiyan. You're all there. Like, everything in you is there right now when you're in this form. Like, it's just all in your base form. I've unlocked everything. You don't have to power up. You're just simply always strong. That's the way I perceived that he was talking about it. And then when we get into Super, he's still been training. I mean, he still has his physique, but he's definitely not Boo Saga level. Like, he's not that ripped, right? But he's weaker. And then, like, a couple months go by, he has a kid, he's obviously not focusing on it anymore. I mean, he's using the Great Saiyaman suit now as just even a joke to play around with his father-in-law and his daughter, to the point where, okay, yeah, like, Gohan's kind of a joke and everyone can sit around and make fun of him, and that's just what we do as a fan base. But he's super scrawny at this point. I'm wondering, is it that he can't power down? Is that hurting his body? Because he gets super skinny. He has his glasses on that he seemingly needs. I mean, like, it's weird to think of a Saiyan who needs his glasses. Like, glasses is, your eyes are degenerating. You can't really see without them. So it's like, he needs his glasses out of nowhere. I know he had him at the end of Z, and it was just kind of to play up his scholar art, like his scholar level or whatever. But he needs them legitimately in Super, and it's like, what's going on with Gohan here? Is his power like eating him alive because he's not training? And it's just like slowly and methodically because he can't power down at all. Because that was a big thing in Dragon Ball Z where you can't stay in Super Saiyan all the time, but you have to master Super Saiyan in order to get the transformation. But the Supreme Kai or the Elder Kai unlocked basically a Super Saiyan 2 level, or if not, a lot of people would argue, myself included, it's like on par with Super Saiyan 3 or something like that type of power where he never had to power up or down. If you're just constantly in that power, I would imagine it would start, degrading your body at some point. So I don't know, like that was just my interpretation of it. It's the way I always perceived it. You can take it how you want.
Well, that's actually a cool theory because one of the big issues with that whole stuff is that how come Gohan didn't really train that much during the Blue arc, yet he still kept somewhat of a physique over 7 years, but after just a few years between the Buu and ROF, the dude looked skinnier. The dude looked like he's 80 pounds, you know what I mean? So it's kind of like what happened there. Like, and I think that's a cool theory that he gets a power up or he gets all his power brought to the surface, and it's so huge, greater than even Super Saiyan 3, that over time, without training or like proper training, or even meditation, is
Mm-hmm.
starting to like deteriorate him. I think that's a kind of a cool theory.
I maybe it still works, maybe it doesn't. I really appreciate it. Like I like that theory, and that was like one of my very first theories on Dragon Ball, and no one really picked up on that because obviously it was so new at the time. But I think it's time to start remaking that. I'm just confused because, like you said, it might not be what it seemed like right now, but it really does seem like it is it seems like it is a transformation instead of actually just having your power there.
Yeah, like I mean, look at it now. Like the only way you can really tell if he's in his ultimate form now is if he has the bang or not. But in Z, he always had the bang. So it's kind of, or like in the Blue arc, he always had the bang. So I don't know. It's funny. It's
Mm-hmm.
weird.
Uh, it's true. Vegeta. Wait, what are we talking? Okay, Vegeta raged and got. I guess got his unlocked. Thinking of his boyfriend Kaba being gone, so him not being able to hit that made him break his shell and come out of the closet. What did I just read? Oh my god.
Man.
You know what?
Keep it PJ, Mark.
I'm trying to, you know what? Actually, like, I do want to mention that. Like, what were your thoughts on the Vegeta transformation? Because I did a video about that, just asking people. I personally think it was underwhelming. I would have loved, and I think you and I talked about this. I would have loved to see like a lot more legitimate flashbacks, like going back all the way from when we met Vegeta up until that point, like seeing his transformation, like his transition, especially now because when that happened, I want to remind everyone when that happened, it wasn't the end of the series. Like we didn't think we didn't know at that point that the series was going to end. So like now after knowing that, after seeing what we got, it was really underwhelming to see Vegeta have that transformation.
It almost reminded me of like a how can I say this? It almost reminded me of like a manga transformation. You know what I mean? Like we get like a small little quick flashback, and then he, his muscles pump up, and then he gets the power up. And what I mean by manga is that when you look at manga stuff, even though I love the Dragon Ball manga, stuff happens relatively fast, and obviously why? Because with the anime, you have more time and all that stuff. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
And there's like a few instances. Obviously, Vegeta's transformation to a Super Saiyan. You get none of that flashback stuff that happened in the anime, where he's like on an asteroid and he's fighting, or like and like he's trying to survive in his hands. You get none of that stuff there. And then the same with like Goku on Goku versus Frieza. You remember when Frieza has him underwater?
Mm-hmm.
Like you get none of that flashback to like Frieza wanting to destroy Earth, and you never get like the Chi stuff and Gohan running for their lives. Like, you get none of that. You know what I mean? So it's kind of like it reminded me like a manga s transformation. Quick, small little flashback to the whole Kaba stuff, and then just gets completely huge and new form and everything, and that's it. Yeah, I would say underwhelming. They could have probably did a bit more when it comes to like them showing maybe like Brawl or Bulma and stuff. But then again, it makes me wonder, like, was Vegeta's mind really on that? Because it seems like in his head, okay, if I just beat Jiren, Bulma and Brawl will obviously be okay. But I need to beat Jiren to also revive, Kaba and them. So I wonder if that's like where his mind was at the same time. You could obviously headcanon he was thinking about his family too. before he transformed.
Of
It
course.
wasn't. It wasn't just the Kaba stuff.
Of course, but if they're just gonna play it off as like, oh, he's thinking about Kaba, and this is the first time he's ever transformed in this form, like, I wanted more. The problem is I thought, and they could have easily just as played it off of, he got this form in the Room of Spirit and Time. That's why he blew out of there, because he was so powerful that he couldn't be contained in that realm anymore, and he just blew himself out of there. It's weird to me, isn't it weird? like, they could have just been like, "Oh, I'm Vegeta, and I was holding back this whole time. Let me just show you my true power." Like, I don't know. Like, I would have actually preferred that based on what we got.
I'm fine with it, but it kind of comes down to like what happened with the Gohan stuff. Just think it was a bit too fast. Because I liked how Gohan went out, but again, it just seems like as soon as Gohan grabbed Dispo, it was like really, really quick. Like he grabs Dispo, puts him in the headlock, and before you know, he's already on the bleachers. It's like, whoa, what happened there? You know what I mean? Like I think if they were really trying to pay homage to the Raditz stuff, which a lot of people have been pointing out, if they were, I think they should have made it a bit more dramatic. You know, like maybe have like Dispo shooting the beam, and then like you have time slow down, and maybe have Gohan like smile, you like smirk, before he gets thrown out. Just stuff like that, I think would have been cool to make it a bit more dramatic. And obviously with Vegeta, just make it a bit more dramatic, just a little bit longer.
Mm-hmm. There is this question in the chat. I think the answer is pretty easy. G30 says, "Wonder who would have won between Hit and Frieza." Your thoughts?
Hit probably would have won.
Hit probably would have won. I think Frieza. See, okay, you can't to me. It's not just about feats and all this other stuff. It's about personality and character traits and all this other and everything like that. Frieza would have toyed with Hit too long. I think Frieza probably would have come in much stronger than Hit. That's unquestionable, at least in my opinion. But Frieza would have toyed with Hit, and Hit would have quickly gotten the upper hand, and that would have been the downfall of Frieza.
Well, I mean, when you think about it, his fights with Goku, they're really his fights with Goku are really the only fights he drags on, and that's just because he actually likes and respects Goku. He probably does respect Vegeta too, but the Vegeta fight was really quick. The Dispo fight was really quick. Like once he figured out Dispo's linear movements, it was like over. Like the dude Hit, bro, grabbed Dispo by the ears and just like disrespected him, bro. Like if he don't like you, he's gonna end the fight. So if he doesn't like Golden Frieza, he's ending the fight. You know what I mean?
Yeah, no, yeah, exactly. And I can't imagine Hit liking Frieza. I think he would annoy Frieza to huge levels. Mike from Laughing Stock Media says, "I can't wait till we find out that Jiren is actually Baby who came back in time from GT and planned to kill Goku before he stopped his plans."
Put down the drink, man. You're out of your mind over here, bro.
I actually you know what? I would accept that if they want to go that balls deep into this is actually a prequel to the GT, despite all the the continuity problems and everything else. I would accept it. I
personally like the Jocko theory better. That Jocko just got tired of Bulma and everybody's crap, so he went to Universe 11 and showed his true power to them. They put him on the team. This is for y'all making fun of me. I am the ultimate elite.
Everything's been an act. The DBS Addis says the DBS storytelling is rushed and not well thought out, which is sad because it has the lore and characters to make it the best Dragon Ball series out there. Or out of the other three. You know what?
Yeah, most of the time it is rushed. Yeah, I agree with that.
It's weird too because, I mean, what are your I already kind of mentioned this in the stream, but what are your thoughts on the ending? I don't know. I know we've everyone's made a video at least discussing it at some point, but what are your thoughts? Do you think that this is a weird place to end it? I mean, thematically, it makes sense with the whole tournament power. There's a lot of stakes here. They might not be covered up by the end of this. Maybe Universe 7's the only one that gets out alive because of reasons. But what are your thoughts?
I mean, it comes down to how long they've actually known about the show ending. like Danny is saying that they probably known since like last year. Like, and what he means by last year, like probably like in what November, October, probably. But the thing with that, and we're just talking shit. Don't quote us on that. We're just kind of headcanon that because what I mean by this is, yeah, the arc itself feels kind of like a be all end all stuff. Like even the opening, it's about Goku reaching the invincible self and breaking through that wall again, and you know what I mean. So even the lyrics of the opening almost make it feel like a be all end all, arc, right? Story. But at the same time, we've done videos on this, and this is what I meant by I wonder how long they've known this has been ending because there's little and subtle hints to the idea that they've probably, and this is probably them saving their own behinds, is that if the show ever does come back, they have stuff to progress on. And what I mean by this is obviously some of the universes that are exempt, they did not seem too freaked out by Jiren's power, and they didn't seem freaked out by like UI Goku. In fact, one of the gods of destruction, I believe, of 12, which is kind of dubbed the Ultimate Universe, he was kind of like he thought the Jiren and Goku fight was boring up until I think what was it, the Spirit Bomb struggle. So everything like prior to that, the whole Shaken Infinity and Goku versus Jiren, like with the Kabuki times 20, he thought that was boring.
Mm-hmm.
So it makes you wonder, like, do they have fighters that are stronger? And we've done a video about that. Like, is Jiren really the strongest mortal? So it comes down to, like, they kind of gave us hints that this would be continuing. Like, where they can go in and explore the other universes. But at the same time, that's not happening. It's ending the show. So.
Well, that's one thing that you and I have talked about in private and also along with maybe in other videos. But, yeah, it's possible that Dragon Ball Super comes back, or some Dragon Ball iteration comes back, like in 6 months, 3 months, something like it's possible. It's weird that they're replacing it with the anime that they're replacing it with, because I was on the stream with Danny the other night, and you and I have talked about this all the times. I'm sure most people listening to this know this at some level. The anime that they're replacing with comes every couple years. Anniversary, huge manga series, huge anime series in Japan. Definitely has like these rerun tours, reboots every couple of years, but they don't last long. I mean, it's just like a one season and done type of anime. So it's weird for them to get rid of a show that's going ever onward. But a lot of the speculation right now is they're going to utilize the talent from the Super show to make the movie, and then they're going to probably jump back onto Super at some point, or Dragon Ball in general. Maybe not. I mean, we really don't know. And look, honestly, I don't think it really matters if Dragon Ball doesn't come back for another 2-3 years. I think it would only build the hype. That's just always been my personal opinion, even though it's a little bit weary. Like, I don't know if people are going to be willing to come back, especially since after all the dust is settled and we don't get a Dragon Ball episode for another year or two, maybe longer. Like, will people be so willing to come back? I mean, there was a need for it after the last 2 movies, and we hadn't had a legitimate series for a very long time, because Battle of Gods and Fakatsu no F are really well received. I mean, Battle of Gods got the characters right. Fakatsu no F got the fights right. And people wanted that in spades. We wanted every single thing like that every episode. And Dragon Ball Super, even though I've liked this show, even though I will get on here and say every time that it is the best Dragon Ball series I have ever seen, it's not the best in quality. It's just the best experience, I guess. And I think that's what legitimately matters when it comes to being a fan of anything, is like, was your experience watching it the best? And that's what makes it like the best series. But in terms of quality, it was really kind of subpar, honestly. I think more arcs in this show were worse than what they could have been, and there was a lot less amazing content than there was actual good content. Now, I think the Tournament of Power really makes up for that. Even though it's ending right now, I think this whole arc has been great. I would even put it up there with one of the best arcs in all of Dragon Ball, but that's just me.
Well, isn't it come down to like replay value too, or a rewatch value, whatever? I'm gonna go back and rewatch all of Super and see how that turns out, because like with Z, even though, like I said, even though I've said this before, even though Z's a better or more well written story than Super overall when it comes to the different portions of the franchise, right?
Mm-hmm.
there's some arcs that like. I cannot sit through and watch all of the Namek stuff, especially like in the original version. Kai, eh. But the original version, I can't sit through and watch all the Namek stuff, even though it's a pretty well thought out story and it connects with the Saiyan arc and kind of everything we've known about Goku. And the same with like the Garlic Jr., like just F that arc. Same with I can't sit through that stuff. And with Super, I've always enjoyed Super, sitting down and watching it. So again, I'm gonna have to base it off when it comes to just replay value, and if I can actually go back and rewatch the series, sit down and actually say, you know what, I enjoyed every episode, because there is a difference between an airing every week, you know what I mean, and kind of like the hype building for it. And it's the same way with Dragon Ball. Like I can sit down and rewatch all of Dragon Ball, and I just love it. You know what I mean? That's why I still say that's my favorite portion of the story, because you can. I'm not gonna argue whether what's told better, saying stuff, the Frieza stuff, what's a better, overall story. But overall, I just love to sit down and I can watch Dragon Ball. Like, it has that charm about it. And in some portions in Z, I feel like it is lacking that, if that makes sense. But again, like I said, it's gonna have to go down on like how I go back and rewatch Super and how I perceive it after it's been gone, or after it's been over for a minute,
Which is true. And what's weird is, like, I actually started rewatching Dragon Ball Super, just the Blu-rays that I got. I hadn't actually sat down to really watch them, because one of the things I'd like to do, and I told you this, and I'll tell you this right now, everyone listening, I want to take some time after Super ends, after we know the entire story, Battle of Gods to Tournament of Power, this is the entire story that Super ever really wanted to tell. I wanted to sit down with it in the next coming weeks, watch what I have and what I can rewatch pretty quickly, and be like, okay, this is how I would do it, and start doing really probably weekly updates into like what I would do, like each individual episode or small little arc. Because even though I think it's a decently told story, I mean, obviously there's a lot less that we need that was actually put in there. They really botched up the first two arcs. The second arc, the third arc and most original, was, I guess, a little hamstrung. There was too little going on. It was just always in that tournament ring and not much to focus on. I think they could have kind of spruced it up a bit with doing flashbacks to or flashes into what Gohan was doing during the what do you call it? What was he at? He was at like a convention.
Yeah, the conference or whatever.
We could have seen that. Like, there was a lot of ways to make that story a little bit more interesting. Same thing with Tournament of Power. And then also, I'm a huge proponent of that the Zamasu arc, Future Trunks arc, and everything else like that. While cool idea, started off incredibly strong, did kind of end with a flutter, and I wanted a little bit more from it. I wanted a little bit more of, okay, like, they don't have to go back and forth every single time. We're just here. We're going to fight. And because we're fighting Zamasu or Black or whatever, they're getting stronger and stronger. And then we need to fuse or something. I don't know. But the idea is what's there, the concepts, the overarching themes, awesome. I think it could be told in a really legitimate story that would put everything in context, make everything connect, and make the 10-year time skip worth watching, worth seeing. It's just we didn't get it, and that's the big problem.
No, I agree with you on that. The one thing that I was told recently from my friend BG was that he went back and watched episode 39 of Goku versus Hit, and he was telling me, and it's almost opposite of what you told me. He was like, he went back, and after comparing that fight to some of the stuff we've seen in this arc, it doesn't hold up like at all. Which, I don't know, like, I would have to go back and rewatch it, because I remember that Kaioken times 10 scene being awesome. That's probably going to go down as an iconic moment,
Mm-hmm.
But it's like, I need to go back and rewatch it, because he was telling me going through those fights, none of them really even hold a candle to even some of the mediocre episodes of this arc, which is kind of funny. That's his opinion, but it's just funny because we agree on a lot of stuff. So like I said, this goes back to what we were talking about earlier. I need to go back and rewatch all the arcs, and kind of like see what I think about it, because like I said, there's a difference between watching it week to week,
And that's the legitimate problem. And I really do appreciate Super and what it's given us. And I cannot wait to own everything on DVD and Blu-ray or whatever you want to call it, or whatever you buy.
Before we move on to the chat, I want to point this out. I was talking to Danny about this. I think he already knew about it, but he had just forgotten. It's from Piccolo's voice actor. This came out on the 21st, and it was translated by Aaron and Herms. Piccolo's voice actor said, "To the end, shock, because it's still continuing. I guess the last quote unquote super time will be the preparation for the next thing. These are my personal impressions. Either way, I'm looking forward to the movie too." And then that was Aaron's translation, and Herm's was, "Until the end, oh no, but it'll still keep going. Maybe Super's last episode will lay the groundwork for what's to come next." That's just what I think. Either way, there's the movie to look forward to. And Therese and Herms were saying not to put too much stock into it. However, though, people high up like Piccolo's voice actor Furukawa would obviously know certain things that even some of the writers don't. So it's kind of like I wonder, and it's caused a bunch of speculation. But like Herms and Therese says, don't put too much stock into it. But I was kind of like, oh my god, they better not end this on a cliffhanger.
Look, you and I talked about the other day. Like, they're not gonna do that. Dragon Ball never ends with a cliffhanger, but to the end, oh my, like, yeah, maybe.
I don't know. It's just interesting. This goes back. Sorry to cut you off. This goes back to what you and Danny have been talking about. This is just so weird. The series makes so much money. Why is it ending? You have people who didn't even know the series was ending. Then you have like Furukawa, Piccolo's voice actor, kind of mentioning, well, maybe it's not ending. Maybe it will come back. Maybe the last episode will lay the groundwork. So it's like, what's going on here? You know, like, well, what happened?
Can I say if it's ending? I've been making this claim like all week in private. If it's ending, I think illegitimately they're not just kind of trying to pull the rug out from under us and it's going to come back within a couple months or so, whatever. I think that they're compensating someone wants out, and I really think like it's probably Toriyama who wants out, because everyone else who's like a main figurehead in this series is like on public record saying that they adore the series, they don't want to ever leave it. You know, it's like, I'd rather die doing this than anything else, yada yada yada. And Toriyama's just, I feel like, been on the freaking sidelines this whole time. Is like, I wanted to do the Tournament of Power after the shop arc, and they made me do the Zamasu Future Trunks thing, and now we're finally here, and I just don't have any other ideas. This isn't exciting me anymore. And this is just all my personal fan opinion. I don't know. I have nothing to back this up. That's just my thought. Like, I think Toriyama might want out, and this might be what Toritaro has been being, brought up to do, is like, this is going to be yours next, because obviously, even though he might not like it anymore, I think Toriyama realizes that Dragon Ball is bigger than him now. I think that's one of the reasons why he's letting Toritaro do the manga instead of him, and it's all just bullet points from him.
Can I just say this? If the episode 131 does end on a cliffhanger, like, cloaked figure, smirking and laughing, me and you, that's where our channel's gonna be for the rest of the year. We'll do a video every other day about that cloaked figure.
Oh my god. I don't know about that. But yeah, we'll have like a bajillion theories on it, but I don't know about every other day. Like, oh my god.
No, yeah, it's just one of those things, like we said before. It's been talked about on many different streams and videos. It's just like, it's kind of just, is jarring the right word? I don't know. It's just kind of crazy that this series is actually ending with everything that we've known of. You know what I mean? Like the popularity of it, the money it's making, the fact that it beat Gundam in merch. Like, I just don't know. It's crazy.
I don't get it. Yeah, it makes no sense. Like, ever since it's come back, or even before it's come back, it's had like, the two most successful games in its history, 3 if you want to count Heroes, and now Fighters, just in a couple days.
Yeah.
No, like this show shouldn't be ending. It's ridiculous. Yeah. Like, especially when Dragon Ball is on its own level now. Like, people, it is the Renaissance. It still is. It's not going anywhere. I want to say this though. I got a tweet, and I'm gonna give this guy shine. I'm not gonna say his name, but it's funny to me because, like, anyone listening here who thinks that, I mean, obviously I'm contradicting myself here, but it's interesting. I got his tweet, said, "I unsubbed on your YouTube for being muted on the current live stream. Good day, sir." And this guy went through the trouble to tweet me after making a brand new account because he obviously didn't have Twitter, and this was the best way to get in touch with him, to get in touch with me. Bye. I just want to say that.
He has a crush on you, bro. Plain and simple.
That's my point. Like, yeah, he like went through a lot of trouble, and that's not gonna even resonate with me any more than what it is right now. I'm sorry I didn't mute you, but have fun with your day. Anyway, I didn't. What's up, love? What is up? And he says, oh snap, MJ's on here too. Okay, say, honestly, Dragon Ball in terms of storytelling and plot development, with training sequences being an important aspect of character progression, DBS is about DB is an 8 out of 10. Dragon Ball Z is a 6.5 out of 10, and Super is a 3.5. I don't know if I'd put Super that low.
DB is about an 8 out of DBZ 6.5 out of 10. It's interesting, not only because since Super's low, which don't really matter to me, but what I find interesting is that he does put DB higher than DBZ, the first portion of the story. Kind of interesting because a lot of people have the idea that DB is 10 out of 10 and no one even knows Dragon Ball exists.
No, look, that's really not a fair assessment either, because like, I think even if you didn't know what Dragon Ball was, if you've been watching Dragon Ball Super every week, if you didn't know what Dragon Ball was, going into Dragon Ball Super, then you probably know what Dragon Ball is now. Especially if you watch like my content and your content and all this stuff. Maybe if you watch Danny's content, maybe you don't, because it's so, it's so broad. But the people who, I'd say like the people who watch our content, and even Love's in here, and Mike from Laughing Stock, and I want to get to what he said earlier, but if they watch our content, it's like, yeah, those people probably know what Dragon Ball is, and they're here because they're like legitimate fans of the series. So like, honestly, I take all the people who subscribe, comment, keep in touch and everything. Like, those people, like, they know what they're talking about, and I bet a lot of them probably know a little bit more than I do. I mean, I'm not an expert in this series. I don't try to be. I really stopped trying to give a care about anything that I post. Like, I stopped trying to hang my hat on a singular theory a long time ago, and now it's just all about starting conversations. Like, is this possible? Let's talk about it. Like, let's talk about it in a realistic sense and not just go off on crazy rant sessions or anything like that. So, that's just my personal opinion when it comes to the fandom. Is like, you approach it as a commentator, you approach it as someone who, no matter what, isn't really overly beholden to a point and can talk about almost anything as long as you try to make it logical. That's my favorite thing about Dragon Ball. But I want to get to what Mike said. He said Toriyama has never seemed to have an issue with other writing for him. He said it was with Toritaro, Oishi, etc. But him not being there in a George Lucas role would be odd. What are your thoughts on that? Like, do you think that if Toriyama left, and it's not like we haven't seen this before, I think Mike makes a really good point. If we haven't seen this before with GT, but now we're going to go into like the peak of its popularity. This isn't like Dragon Ball and Dragon Ball Z, where it was failing in popularity and not really the number one seller anymore and all that other stuff as we got into GT, and there wasn't a manga around it, anything else like that. Do you think it's the best time or worst time ever for Toriyama to get off the ship?
I'll let you give your thoughts on that, because I just realized I have a Coke in the freezer and I don't want it to blow up because it's been in there for like an hour. So can I go take it out?
Yeah, no, go. In a second.
Thank you.
All right, we'll catch him up when he comes back, but I want to answer this opinion. You know what? Let's see. I feel like this is something that I was thinking about a little bit. I have been for a long time, and I think that Dragon Ball doesn't need Toriyama. This is my opinion. I don't think Dragon Ball needs him per se, but it would be interesting to see what anyone else can do with it, because I think Dragon Ball is way more. It's bigger than Toriyama. It's bigger than almost anything that he's ever come up with, and I don't really think he's taken or shepherded this series as far as it can go, at least in terms of the narrative and the things that he's introduced. And I think if you give it over to someone, probably not Toritaro. I don't want to see Toritaro take up this, because he's proven to me with Dragon Ball AF and almost the entire series thus far that in the manga that he's just not a good storyteller. He is the epitome of a fanboy. And maybe fanboys make good content, maybe they don't. The manga to me seems like a fan fiction to what the anime is, and maybe that's because the manga is so behind the anime at this point. But even when the original series started and the anime was going, it really felt like it wasn't living up to that hype or living up to that potential of being something truly great. And I think the anime has gotten to that point quicker and easier than the manga itself. 1 second. So yeah, like I think that's just my personal opinion. I mean, I thought he would be back by now, but that's just my personal opinion. Let's see. But yeah, I don't know. Like I think that Mike has a really interesting point. Like I think it's really possible that Toriyama doesn't want to give up the mantle, and he doesn't have like a much terrible role. He doesn't have a terrible role anymore in the series. Like he doesn't have to write like a weekly manga. He doesn't draw it. He just gives bullet points that he has to come up with over the course of months, not just a week. So, I mean, unless there's something much worse going on here that we're not really aware of, I can't imagine him wanting to give up the series. I really don't understand why the series is ending. It's to me, it's the most logical. Like everyone else who's a part of this series, at least in my opinion, has something going for them. Like they are in love with the series. They've been working on it so much. They are overly enthusiastic about everything going on. And even though a lot of the voice actors are pretty old, they're getting up there, there's no one up there so heavily or so high that they're in imminent danger of probably passing away. I mean, people do, especially when they're younger than some of these people. But to me, it's Toriyama. It will always be Toriyama. Are you back?
Yeah, I'm back.
So I just said
Nice.
that I just essentially said that I don't think he's leaving. I don't think he's leaving, but it wouldn't, like, to me it's the most logical explanation as to why they're ending it right now is that Toriyama wants out.
No, it's hard. I would have always assumed that it would never be an issue. We talked about this before, that if Toriyama did want out, Toei would just continue it because of all the money. You know what I mean? So when you think of that, and you think of how different this is from GT, because with Z, the story was Goku fought Buu, which was the demon of the universe, and he beat him, or Earth beat him, right? And that's it. So where do you go from there? Because you almost have to suspend your disbelief about what villains can actually show up, because where were like is Kaioshin that like idiotic that he didn't know about the machine mutants? You know what I mean? Did they not know about this? Did they stay off the radar for that long? It kind of makes you wonder where do we go next? How do we create a villain that's bigger than Boo, and that would even make sense, because even Boo was kind of You've been telling me he's been hiding on Earth this whole time. You know what I mean? So it's like, it makes, like, where do you go from there? And with the other universes, Toriyama kind of shook the foundation of the entire story by saying there's other universes out there. So if another villain comes from that universe, it makes sense, because we don't really know anything about that universe. Anything could happen over there. So it's just kind of like, we always figured they would keep the story going even if Toriyama wasn't involved. And to be honest, go read stuff on Content. You go look at Danny's videos. Toriyama did have some involvement with GT. Obviously, he would not be creating the bullet points for Super if he wasn't involved, but I'm still sure he would help them create new transformations for like big moments, or he would help them create like certain things. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
So he would still technically be there, kind of like just there if they really needed some guidance. But when it came to the story, they would handle that. I just don't really see the issue of him leaving. I think they would just continue it.
Yeah, I completely agree. And this is something I want to kind of jump on when it comes to that concept. The comment here is, I wish the storytelling was better if he leaves, or at least more thought out like Naruto with less filler. But if there is at least let it be Naruto where the filler helps characters. I'm sorry if sometimes I get a little tongue tied when I read that. So basically, what are your thoughts there? Like, if someone were to just theoretically go out of their way, like I guess if someone were to, for Toriyama, maybe Toritaro, anyone else, and they started telling their own stories based off these characters, and let's say even just for sanity's sake, that yes, they start telling another story, but it's going to be a little bit different. They're going to take characters and maybe shift them in ways that we're not really familiar with in order to serve the story that they're trying to tell. But ultimately, it's a well drawn out story with a really well developed plot and characters and all this other stuff. I mean, do you think Dragon Ball fans would enjoy that? Or do you think that there would be backlash? Like, this isn't the Dragon Ball we want because it's not the Dragon Ball we remember. Because Toriyama might have had better moments, especially in Dragon Ball. He did. But it's never been consistent. Ever. It's always been wacky. The whole story started off, it was like a gag manga, and then it became uber serious, and then kind of went back into being, let's just be fun and silly again. So, like, what are your thoughts? Like, do you think you want to see that, or do you think that we would ultimately reject it?
I mean, it's always been like that. Like the Saiyan arc, people argue, which is the or one of the darkest arcs, and in was just dropping off like flies. It's like when you think about that, when you actually at least the anime version, not the manga, but at least the anime version, the way Toei handled it, you would skip back and forth between, like Gigi, like yelling, and Bulma and like Baba fighting. Like, it kind of guts from like, oh my god, someone just lost an arm, and then just like bickering and yelling, and it's always been wacky. Like, even the Piccolo stuff, the Piccolo Daimao arc, Toriyama introduced Yajirobe like a comedic character in this dark time. You know what I mean? It's always been wacky. So I don't get that whole concept of that. That's what Dragon Ball is. It's never been this horrible show where like it's just completely dark throughout the whole entire. You know what I mean? It's like even the Future Trunks arc, even though that was some of the darkest stuff, like there were some comedic moments in the Future Trunks arc. Obviously had the the peel off gang. You know what I mean? It's always been like that. So I just don't get people who argue that like it's never been like that. But I mean, people would probably reject it, but then again, it's like whatever. You know what I mean? Like, if you do, I don't really think you understand Dragon Ball, really. But that's just me.
Yeah, I completely agree with that. I would love to see it. I would love to see it get a little bit darker, a little bit more serious and story driven and character focused and everything else that comes with that. I would love for someone. Oh my gosh, like I'm just losing like connection left and right. This is just not a good situation.
With me?
No, like with the stream itself. I think this stream keeps glitching out on me. I guess my internet's just not good right now. I've never had a problem before. But anyway, I agree with you, man. I would love for it to go. Just me personally, I would love for it to go darker, in a better light. I would love for someone else to take up these characters, this situation, this world that Toriyama's built, and figure out the next direction to go, especially with a clean slate. But that's just me. But anyway, guys, I think I'm going to end it there. It's kind of an impromptu stream, but for an hour and a half, I think it's pretty good. Anyway, I hope everyone has had a fantastic night. I hope everyone has a good day tomorrow as well. Like I said, today wasn't the best day, and I'm sure tomorrow won't be the best day either, but we're going to work through it, right? We're just all working for the weekend, so I hope everyone's...
I might stream tomorrow. I just want to point that out. I might stream tomorrow.
All right, so check out MJ's stream tomorrow, and I hope everyone has a fantastic night. It's been real, guys.